Prepare the main gun. Load high explosive. Gun loaded, ready to fire.
When we picture German tanks, we often imagine the sleek Panther or the fearsome Tiger rolling across Europe in World War II. But Germany's armored journey began much earlier and far more awkwardly with a boxy, top-heavy behemoth known as the A7V. Born out of late war desperation in 1918, this steel fortress on tracks carried up to 25 men, bristled with machine guns and a cannon, and could barely manage 3 miles per hour off-road. In this video, we'll explore the A7V in detail, its chaotic interior, its flawed design, its brief but historic combat debut, and how this clunky pioneer quietly laid the groundwork for the panzer divisions of the next World War. Cross-section of the A7V tank. The image of German panzers storming across Europe is among the most famous of World War II. Yet decades earlier, their tank designs began far more humbly. In World War I, Germany's first tank, the A7V, was little more than a steel box on tracks, primitive compared to the lethal machines of the next war. The Allies first fielded tanks in 1916 to break the Western Front stalemate. Though imperfect, their success proved that armored warfare was the future. Germany hesitated to build its own tanks, relying on artillery and stormtrooper tactics well into 1917 instead of developing armored forces. Some visionaries persisted. In May 1917, Joseph Vollmer's A7V prototype was tested, marking Germany's first step into armored warfare. After revisions, production started in October 1917. The first A7Vs reached the front in March 1918, named after Abteilung 7 Verkehrswesen, or Section 7 Transport. Only 20 of the planned 100 tanks were completed before Germany's surrender in November 1918. Other variants were designed but never built, leaving the A7V as Germany's sole wartime tank. Its full name was Sturmpanzer Kraftwagen, meaning armored assault motor vehicle. The A7V carried up to 18 crew and officer-driver mechanics and 12 infantrymen for its weapons. Some variants crammed as many as 25 men inside the metal hull. Inside, the A7V had no compartments, just one open, noisy chamber shared by crew and machinery. 2 engines sat at the center, with the driver and commander perched above, peering out through narrow viewing slits. Because of the engine heat, they wore asbestos suits. Poor visibility forced frequent halts so the commander could reorient himself. The crew manned a 57mm gun and 6 MG08s in stifling, fume-filled conditions. It was unbearably hot, cramped, and deafening inside. Weapons? The A7V's main weapon was a 57mm field gun mounted at the front, supported by 6 MG08 machine guns placed around the hull. Each tank carried roughly 180 shells and thousands of rounds of ammunition. This setup was standard but could be modified depending on mission needs. Some versions, called female, replaced the main gun with 2 machine guns for close defense. None of the weapons rotated. German engineers had not yet developed turret designs. Each gun had a narrow firing arc, forcing crews to move the whole tank to aim accurately. Turning the entire vehicle to target was slow and clumsy, reducing combat effectiveness. Armor. The A7V's armor was about 30mm at the front and 20mm on the sides, thick enough for rifle fire but not artillery. The roof and belly were weakest, barely over 10mm, vulnerable to grenades and mines. Made from regular steel, the armor often splintered on impact, showering the crew with fragments. Names and artwork. Each A7V was given a personal name by its crew, some after women like Gretchen, others after heroes such as Wotan or Siegfried. The only surviving A7V is number 506 Mephisto, named after a demon from German legend. Another Faust shared the same inspiration. Crews often painted artwork. Mephisto bore a red demon clutching a white rhomboid, a stylized British tank. Early skull and crossbones markings were later replaced with the black and white German cross. After capture, the British repainted Mephisto with a crowned lion standing over a German tank. The A7V used two Daimler-Benz four-cylinder engines producing a combined 200 horsepower, driving the 33-ton tank up to 9 miles on roads and barely 3 miles off-road. It used Caterpillar tracks for traction, with armor shielding them from small arms fire, an advantage over many Allied designs. Its 500-liter fuel tank gave a range of only 60 kilometers on roads limited by heavy fuel consumption. Dimensions. The A7V measured 7.3 meter long, 3.1 meter wide, and 3.3 meter tall. Weighing 33 tons, each tank varied slightly since all were built by hand without full standardization. Its box-like shape resembled an armored rail car that could move under its own power. Its chassis was based on a Holt tractor design with vertical spring suspension. The tank's low ground clearance limited operations to flat terrain and roads. Even with suspension, the ride was rough. Ropes were hung from the ceiling so crew could steady themselves. The A7V first saw action in March 1918 during the Spring Offensive at St. Quentin, where a few functioning tanks helped repel a British counterattack. On April 24, 1918, 3 A7Vs fought 3 British Mark IVs at Villers-Bretonneux, the first tank versus tank battle in history. The British male variant's cannons disabled one A7V, forcing its crew to abandon it. During that battle, Mephisto was trapped in a crater and abandoned. It was recovered by British troops and later shipped to Australia, where it remains preserved today. After its disappointing performance, German command withdrew the A7V from frontline service and canceled further orders. Remaining A7Vs saw little use before war's end. Most were later scrapped, but lessons learned shaped future German tank design, paving the way for the iconic Panzers of World War II. The A7V may have been slow, unreliable, and produced in tiny numbers, but its legacy is far greater than its battlefield record suggests. As Germany's first and only operational tank of World War I, it exposed critical gaps in armored doctrine, crew ergonomics, and mobility that would shape decades of future tank development. The lessons from its cramped, overheated hull and cumbersome gun layout directly influenced the engineering philosophy behind the Blitzkrieg machines of WW2. So while the A7V never changed the course of the Great War, it did something arguably more important. It taught Germany how not to build a tank, and in doing so, helped them build better ones later. If you found this deep dive into early armored warfare insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories from the front lines of military history.